question of whether countries should prioritize free trade or protectionism to boost their economies is a long-standing debate in macroeconomics with valid arguments on both sides. There's no single answer that applies universally to all countries at all times, as the optimal approach often depends on a country's specific circumstances, its stage of development, and the global economic context. Arguments for free trade. Increased efficiency and productivity. Free trade allows countries to specialize in producing goods and services where they have a comparative advantage, leading to greater efficiency and higher overall global output. Resources are allocated to their most productive uses. Lower prices and greater choice for consumers. Removing trade barriers leads to lower prices for imported goods, increasing consumers' purchasing power, and providing access to a wider variety of products. Economic growth. Increased exports, driven by access to larger international markets, can stimulate economic growth. Competition from foreign firms can also push domestic industries to innovate and become more efficient. Technology transfer and innovation. Free trade facilitates the flow of ideas, technology, and best practices across borders, fostering innovation and economic development. Attraction of foreign direct investment, FDI. Open economies are often more attractive to foreign investors, bringing in capital, technology, and expertise. Reduced risk of monopoly. Competition from foreign firms can limit the power of domestic monopolies, leading to fairer prices and better quality for consumers. Arguments for protectionism. Protection of infant industries. New industries in developing countries may need temporary protection from international competition to grow, achieve economies of scale, and become competitive globally. National security. Certain strategic industries, such as defense, energy, and essential goods, may be protected to ensure domestic supply in times of crisis. Job protection. Tariffs and quotas can shield domestic industries from foreign competition, potentially preserving jobs in the short run. However, economists often argue that this comes at the cost of higher prices and reduced competitiveness in the long run, potentially leading to job losses elsewhere. Counteracting unfair trade practices, e.g. dumping. Protectionist measures can be used to retaliate against countries that engage in unfair trade practices like dumping, selling goods below their cost of production. Balance of payments improvement. Restricting imports can reduce a country's trade deficit in the short term. However, this can lead to retaliation from other countries, harming exports. Government revenue. Tariffs on imports can generate revenue for the government, although this is often not the primary motivation for protectionism. Macroeconomic perspective. From a macroeconomic standpoint, most economists generally favor free trade due to its potential to enhance global efficiency, productivity, and long-run economic growth. Trade allows for specialization, economies of scale, and the diffusion of technology, all of which contribute to higher living standards. However, the transition to freer trade can have short-term costs, such as job losses in import-competing industries. Therefore, policymakers often need to implement adjustment policies, such as retraining programs and social safety nets, to mitigate these negative impacts. Protectionism, while potentially offering short-term benefits to specific domestic industries, tends to lead to inefficiencies, higher prices for consumers, reduced innovation, and the risk of trade wars, ultimately hindering overall economic growth and development. Conclusion. While specific circumstances might warrant temporary and targeted protectionist measures, particularly for infant industries or national security reasons, a general prioritization of free trade tends to be more beneficial for boosting economies in the long run from a macroeconomic perspective. Free trade fosters competition, efficiency, and innovation, leading to greater prosperity. However, it's crucial to manage the transition to free trade effectively and address any negative consequences through appropriate domestic policies. The optimal approach often involves a move towards freer trade while implementing policies to support affected workers and industries.